I'm Freya Hickman, founder of Remind and Trauma Talk, the podcast. Trauma Talk is a podcast where we have candid conversations about trauma and recovery. Before we get stuck in, I wanted to take a few minutes to share more with you about my story, who I am to be talking about trauma, and why I wanted to start a podcast. I was caught up in the London Bridge and Borough Market terror attack in 2017. In the weeks and months afterwards, I felt continuously on edge and suffered from severe flashbacks and panic attacks that could be triggered by events outside of my control at any time. Everyday tasks and routine felt like a huge challenge. For example, crowds of people on the train, people standing behind me, the news and social media, sirens, a car backfiring, flashing lights in a bar, glass breaking. The list felt endless. There was little respite as I suffered from nightmares in my sleep, and the thought of sleep became terrifying too. The world no longer felt safe, and each and every day felt like a battle to get through. Not only did the world no longer feel safe, my relationships were affected too. I found it nearly impossible to talk about and unbearable because it was unbearable to talk about, and I felt so incredibly guilty. How could I be struggling when others had it so much worse? Despite my terrifying ordeal, I wasn't physically injured. I hadn't lost anyone. I had been lucky. Family and friends wanted to help, but they didn't always know how, and I couldn't communicate what I was experiencing or what it was that I needed. And there were times where it felt like nobody understood. There is no guidebook for something like this. There are people who will get it, but there are also people who won't be. And there might not be the people that you expected or wanted to understand. It's definitely changed some of my relationships, but learning to talk more has strengthened and helped build incredible new relationships too. My relationship with myself was affected as well. I saw myself differently, or I just couldn't see myself at all anymore. I felt completely out of control, and I couldn't do some of the things that used to be routine, easy, or fun. I felt guilt, frustration, anger, grief, loss, confusion, a whole roller coaster of emotions. And underneath it all, I often felt completely lost and isolated. Although people go through different types of traumatic experiences, it doesn't have to be an extreme event like mine was, and everybody does experience trauma and PTSD differently. There are common themes that through what I felt that I have since learned are echoed by thousands of similar stories of people impacted by trauma, but it's rarely talked about. An experience like this changes you. I was desperate to go back to the old me and get my old life back, but I don't think that you can. You have to find a way to accept things and move forward with them. What happened to you becomes part of your story, and it might shape your life, but it doesn't define it. And more importantly, it doesn't define you as a person. It took me over 2 years and thousands of pounds of therapy to start moving from surviving to thriving again. I founded Remind in 2020 as a result of my personal experiences and professional background in technology. Since then, I've built a mental health app to support trauma. It provides grounding tools to help you during moments of distress, enables you to track your feelings, symptoms, and triggers, and provides insights so you can learn more about the things that are affecting you and also the tools that are helping. It also has information and resources on trauma, PTSD, and related topics. The app has been built with lived experience, clinical and academic expertise, researching, testing, and collecting feedback from hundreds of users every single step of the way. The app is available on the app stores to download, and there's a free trial so you can try it out. Trauma Talk, the podcast, is where we're going to have candid conversations about trauma, the impact on our mental health and recovery. We're opening up the conversation because trauma is a topic which is often taboo, despite affecting so many of us. It's incredibly hard to be the person struggling when trauma affects every area of your life. But it's hard for family, friends, and colleagues, and those around us too, who may want to support and not know how or feel like they're getting it wrong. Our brilliant guests are people from all walks of life who've had different traumatic experiences themselves and will candidly share the highs and lows of their recovery. They are clinicians or other professionals sharing insights and expertise with us. It's my sincere hope that these conversations help to break down the stigma, improve understanding around trauma and recovery, and help you to feel less alone. We will always include content warnings in our show notes so that you can see what topics we're covering. But if at any point in time you're finding what we're saying difficult to hear, then by all means feel free to skip ahead or just turn off. If you enjoy the podcast episodes, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review, because your feedback will help us to reach so many more listeners who might also benefit from these conversations. We'd love to hear if there are any particular topics that you'd like us to cover. Please get in touch to let us know. And remember, trauma recovery is a journey, and everyone's journey looks different. We're honoured to be part of yours. I think that's about it for today. See you soon on the first episode of Trauma Talk, the podcast.